Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a tutorial on this eye look right here. It is a super quickie 5-minute glam slash naturalesque bronzy look. I wanted to kind of show you guys how I throw myself together in literally like 10 minutes or less. I tried to eliminate as many steps as possible. You guys can totally skip the smudgy, smoky little shadow wing that I've got going on. You can also skip, you know, carving out and putting in that fake crease line. But you guys know that both of those are staples with me in my eye looks, no matter what I'm doing, even if it's just a super quickie look or if it's, you know, a much more glammed up look. I need to have that structure and definition and that depth and dimension into the eye. I just have to have it in there, so I include both of those steps no matter what I'm doing. So yeah, this is the bronzy look. I have a huge stack of new palettes. I'm literally so 250 palettes behind the 8-ball because I have a couple hundred from last year that I haven't even cracked open yet that I'm anxious to use. I've got so many beautiful palettes. I got so many great Huda ones. I got a ton of Natasha Denona ones. I have, oh my God, the list just goes on. I'm trying to get better at getting through all of them, and hopefully I will get to this stack right here. I got some new ColourPop. There's the Jeffree Star collab. I got the new Sigma Enchanted one. So yeah, I've got a lots of fun tutorials in the works. All right guys, so if you guys are new here, please hit the subscribe button and join my Hooded Eyes family and the notification bell. That way YouTube will notify you each and every time I upload. And if you guys are new, welcome to the video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Lauren Jade. I am 57. I have mature, crepey, wrinkly skin with hooded eyes that are slightly downturned, so I'm always doing things a little bit differently than the typical cookie cutter, one size fits all YouTube tutorial on here. But it works for me in my eye shape, and I'm all about adding depth and dimension to this hooded eye. That's what I am all about. So, okay, I think that's it. I'm gonna stop rambling. I think I've said everything, and yeah, let's just get right into this tutorial. I have already applied my moisturizer. I'm just fresh out of the shower, and I always moisturize while my skin is slightly damp. I just feel like it just soaks it up better, and it's just better for hydration. So I'm just tapping it in, and I'm gonna let this soak in for a few minutes. All right, brows are on. If you guys are interested in seeing my updated brow routine, I can totally do that. I usually always do my brows off camera just because of the fact that this one is really wonky from all my skin cancer surgeries and is a royal pain in the ass to work with, not to mention what it looks like. Cannot stand it. But anyway, I use the Desi slash Benefit collab here, the Bomb Ass Brows Kit, which looks like this. I love the Benefit Brow product, so that is what I use. And I am planning to do a video on how to stop cakey foundation. I'm planning to do that soon, where I talk about lots of different beauty oils. So right now I'm going to be using the argan oil. I'm going to put a few drops on my face. My hands are clean. In case you guys are wondering, I always mix and warm up products on the back of my hand. So if you guys always see this little brown thing on my hand, now you guys know what it is. It's from my brow products. I'm going to put a tiny couple of drops of this argan oil on the back of my hand and just place a few on my face now that the moisturizer has soaked in. There's a couple different schools of thought. Some people like to apply their beauty oil first and let that soak in so it kind of acts as a barrier. Other people like to lock in their moisturizers first so that that's kind of locked in and set in place, and then put the beauty oil on top. I prefer to do it that way. So I'm just going to pat this in and let this soak in, and I'll be back. All right, this is not Instagram makeup here. In fact, I am planning to do a parody video of Instagram makeup and YouTube makeup. It's going to be quite the funny thing. I'm planning to do that. I think it will be hilarious. All right, I'm just dabbing a little bit of this foundation on. I'm going to use my MAC. This is just a stippling brush. I don't even know if there's a number. Yeah, the 187. And I'm just going to stipple this in. I'm also going to grab another little dab here of the argan oil and I'm going to dab that around so that mixes in with the foundation. It really just gives me a beautiful coverage. I'm using Clé de Peau foundation, and it is oil based, so it works really nicely with the oil. You want to make sure when you're doing your face that all of your products are meshing together. So if you're using a primer, you want a water-based kind of primer. If you're using a water-based foundation and so forth, you just kind of want, because you know oils and water don't really mix, so you just want to make sure that if you are using beauty oils that you're kind of using a foundation that blends and meshes well with the oils. That is why I really can't work with a beauty blender, even though I love the concept of the dampened beauty blender, because my foundations are typically oil-based. I do have a couple that are water-based, but I like the way the oil works with my skin. It just is so smooth and just really gives me that flawless airbrushed finish. And I don't have a problem with rough, dry patches, and I don't have a problem with cakey foundation, so it's just something that really works for me. I'm just tapping and pressing this in. You really don't want to like swipe and buff all over the place, which is what I used to do, but when you do that and you're using a foundation brush, you get that, what they call like micro exfoliation. So basically you're just picking up like the dead skin and just kind of moving it around, and then you have like a lot of like rough patches, and you see your foundation kind of lifting and it kind of collects in with the dead skin cells, and it just looks like a cakey mess. So I like to really just kind of buff this in. I might do tiny circular motions, but really softly, just really pushing this foundation into the skin. And by the way, this is a Sigma Flat Kabuki F80 brush. All right, I'm going to grab just a tiny bit of concealer. I'm using the NARS Radiant Cream Concealer. I'm just going to put a little bit on. This is not the Instagram style makeup, so we're not going to be putting the triangle over here and the 3 stripes over here and the 3 stripes down here. And yeah, no, we're just putting a tiny bit of concealer underneath the eyes. I'm just going to pat that in. And then I put a tiny bit up here that I'm just going to grab for underneath here just to kind of clean up and smooth the brow area right here. I'm not a big fan of the going around the brows with the concealer just because of the fact that I just don't like that look. But I do like to clean it up. I don't know if I mentioned this, but this is a Kevyn Aucoin Dual Concealer Brush. All right, I'm gonna grab a little bit of the Giorgio Armani. This is the Luminous Silk powder. I'm using a IT Cosmetics powder brush, and I'm just going to dab a tiny bit on just to set the foundation. I did wait a few minutes, so I made sure that the foundation wasn't wet. I don't like it wet when I set it. I just kind of like it to dry just a hair, and I'm just gonna set this really, really lightly. Like, I don't like powders. I don't like a lot of cakey powders. I'm more about the skin focus. I like for everything to be kind of radiant and dewy. But I do want to set this a little bit because when I go to apply my bronzers and my other powders, it just kind of meshes well. All right, I'm going to let this kind of dry. My face stuff, let that dry. I'm moving on to the eyes now. I'm going to be using my MAC Paint Pot as always in Soft Ochre. I just kind of put this on here. My skin was a little bit moist. Sometimes I mix a little tiny bit of Vaseline in with this, but I just kind of put this on because I had some moisturizer on my eyes, so I was cool with that. And I'm going to be kicking it P. Louise style today, and that is I don't set the primer with translucent powder. I'm going to set it with the eyeshadow that I'm using, and I'm using Melts Blur, which by the way is my new BFF. I'm grabbing a e.l.f. This is just a shader brush here, and I'm going to just kind of pat this on everywhere where I'm planning to place eyeshadow. So I'm not going to take it up and all over because I like to have a nice bone color shade kind of out here. Just going to pat this on, kind of tap and press. I also like to press it up a little bit, just kind of feather out the edges here. Just gives a nice, smooth, flawless airbrush kind of a finish. And from the Melt Rust Stack, I'm going to grab the shade Classic right here and just dust it out here. I like to keep this area really light and airy. You guys know that. So I'm grazing the edges of that light transition shade that I use to set my base with. All right, as always, I'm grabbing my Hoola bronzer. This is the Benefit Cheek Leader Bronze Squad palette. As always, I'm gonna dip into my Hoola bronzer and bronze my crease. I'm using a NARS number 41 brush. I'm starting right here in the center, and I'm just going to follow my socket. So I'm basically kind of carving out my eye shape right here, just my natural eye shape, carving it out, staying in the socket. I'm going to take a little bit down into the bridge of the nose for the nose contour. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit extra and just kind of swirl it up here as I brush it up towards the brow. Just gives such a really nice sultry fade to the look. All right, I'm going to grab this Sienna Red Brick shade. You guys know this is a staple with me in all of my eye looks. I'm going to kind of really get into the hollow of the eye and really kind of carve out the socket shape here. I like to put in a new fake crease line and just kind of give this hooded eye some shape and definition. I'm going to also kind of feather it out upwards. This brush is so soft. It's a Sigma E65. And it's just a really nice, soft, angled brush. And you can see there's really not much blending. It just kind of blends itself because I kind of feather out the color. Just getting in here and just kind of creating. I'm in the hollow of the eye. I'm really just carving out a new crease line and just adding a definition to my own eye shape, really. You can see just that little bit how it just added some definition into the eyes. I'm going to switch to the J5523 from the J series, the Hakuhodo, and I'm just going to grab a tiny bit more in the shade, and I'm going to concentrate this right in this little outer section right here, and I'm going directly above my natural crease, almost as if it was a real crease. I'm just going to go where mine is the most pronounced, so I'm just going to kind of mimic that right above. And then I'm going to wipe off that brush real quick, and I'm just going to feather this in a little bit. I don't want too much. I'm not going to take it all the way in, and I'm not going to take it like as high. I really kind of want this to hug the socket, I guess, if you will. Just really want it to be in the depth of the hollow of the eye. When you hold the brush horizontally, the bristles on the side of the brush, if it's tapered, will do the blending for you. So I like that you can just kind of plug and play, just kind of put this right into the socket and it'll just blend for you. I find that when you are down here and you're working and stuff, which is fine sometimes depending on the look that you're going for, but when you're down here and you're applying the color, it really just pushes that color upwards. So when you hold the brush kind of at a horizontal level, you are kind of placing that color exactly where you want it without pushing it up too far or without kind of pushing it down. It just kind of gets right where you want it. kind of keeping this also too right in the 2/3 of the eye, so not all the way in and not all the way out, just kind of in the center. And then I'm going to go back with that first fluffy brush, the NARS 42, and just go right in the socket and just kind of give everything a really nice blend. That Sienna Brick shade and the Sigma E65 brush, and just kind of put that fake crease line, just kind of trace right over it. I like that kind of dark to light contrast between what is going on up here in the crease and what's on my lid. So at the very end, I always kind of go back in and just kind of re-intensify that base, that actual fake crease line. And I like it the deepest kind of right in this outer section right here. So that is what I am doing. All right, I decided to throw on just a tiny bit of this NYX. This is a shadow base in white. I just feel like it really amplifies the shadows, and it literally just takes like 2 seconds to put on. So you guys know I'm all about that pop. All right, I'm gonna go into the NARS face palette again here and grab this highlighter. And now I'm just going to put this on the inner corner. I'm gonna grab this shade right here. I had to grab a brush. I'm just gonna grab this shade right here and just kind of put this on like the back half. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of this shade and just kind of put it in the center, so I kind of get that gradient ombre effect. I'm gonna grab my Holy Grail MAC shade here and pop my little inner corner highlight in. You guys know that I like that gradient fade on my eyeshadows just to kind of have that ombre effect. I like the same thing also on the lid. I like there for it to be that gradation there, so it kind of goes from dark to light. And I'm keeping with my signature look that it seems like I do all the time. I kind of take a little bit of this highlighter and just kind of take it up a little tiny bit into the inner corner of the lid. I just feel like that really opens up that whole lid space. This is something that I started doing, gosh, several months ago, I think last year, and it's just kind of been a signature thing with me now. I'm gonna stamp just a tiny bit of the black right into the lashes, so just kind of stamping right along the root. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that brown right on top of it, so I kind of get that gradient fade from brown to black. And you can see just that tiny bit of black just kind of gave it a little extra punch. Go back into the Hoola. I'm also going to grab a little bit of the caramel and just kind of blow out my lower lash line here. Sometimes I do this step as I go along. Other times I kind of wait until the end. The bone shade I'm just going to clean up here. I'm just using my JH number 10 brush from the Jaclyn Hill collection set here. Just going to clean up. And then I'm going to throw on some face powders. We're going to use some bronzers and some blushes and some highlights. I'm going to grab the, this is hard to open these NARS things. I'm going to grab this bronzer here, which by the way is beautiful, from the Summer Lights palette. Just going to start as I always do, kind of sculpting out the cheek area here. Putting a little bit, and then I'm going to hit the perimeters of the face. Bronze it on up here. All right, for blush, I'm going to grab the Tom Ford Love Lust blush. I'm using a Tom Ford blush brush. Also, I am not a apples of the cheek blush kind of person, so I just kind of stipple it on, and then I kind of blow it out back towards the temple. I just put like a tiny bit on the apples, but it's mainly kind of blowing out back here. I'm just going to top it with a little bit of my Milani Luminosa, which is one of my favorite blushes. I'm using a just a little stippling brush. It's a dual fiber brush from Sigma. I'm just going to kind of stipple a little bit of this in. Just kind of has a luminous peachy sheen, and it just meshes so beautiful with just any blush, really. I am a OG MAC Spice and Myth chick from the 90s. It's kind of unnerving. It's really weird, I guess, to kind of see this resurgence of the nude thing, because I've been doing this since like the 90s, when the nude was really big, because literally, like, and I've gotten a lot of people to try that Spice lip liner because of that. But yeah, like everything I comment on social media, I think people really want to try that Spice lip liner. But these days I kind of pair my myth with subculture, but the 90s have never left me. I am a nude chick from the 90s, and so it's kind of strange in some ways to have this resurgence of the nude era, because it's kind of like what I lived all through the 90s. So on my lips, I'm using MAC's Honey Love, and I topped it in the center pout with MAC's Bare Bling. So that's what is on my lips. And this lip liner here is not my Spice. I grabbed this one today, which is a double time. All right, so I'm gonna spray the face now. Oh, highlight, we gotta get. All right, I'm gonna go in with the Ofra highlighter here in Star Island. I'm using my, as always, my Sigma highlighter brush. And I don't like to put the highlighter like as a stripe right here. I kind of like it to mesh in a little bit into my cheek color. You can see it doesn't even need a damp brush, doesn't need any spray. These highlighters, just like Cookie and Tickle that I've said since day one, since I literally bought those Benefit palettes the first day they were released, both the Pink Squad and the Bronze Squad, and Cookie and Tickle did not come to play. I said that the very first day I received the palette, which was a few days after they were released. And these Ofra highlighters also, they do not come to play. All right, I'm gonna use my Kylie setting spray to spray the face, and then I'm gonna dry here. Woo. Woo. I gotta be honest, my favorite setting spray is the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. Nothing smells as great as that, and I love that the Morphe Setting Mist puts out such a super fine mist. I love that. All right, guys, that completes the look. Mwah! I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one.